Hello everyone, and welcome to this game of StarCraft that was found on reddit.com/r/castit. We will see spawning here on Akilon Wastes in our upper left-hand position as our blue Zerg player. It is Keen from Team MVP. And his opponent in the bottom right-hand position as the red Protoss player, it is MrNobody. I am Thaco, and I am joined here today by Crosby. How are you doing over there, Crosby?
I'm doing well, sir. How about yourself?
I am excellent. I am really excited to see how this game unfolds here on Akilon Waste. It's not a very Zerg-friendly map because the Protoss player can just turtle up so well on 3 bases. I'm excited to see how Keen decides to try to tackle that dilemma.
I mean, it's a classic dilemma, you know. Protoss on 2 bases is still kind of frustrating for Zerg if they can't do a whole lot. And, you know, Akilon Waste, you know, there's those 3 bases, but, like, you know, they're easily defendable, but there's not really a great easy fourth. There's that one on the top left for Keen, but, like, you know, that's kind of vulnerable. There's not really some kind of natural expansion pathways like there is on some other maps. You know, there's the 3 bases, and then you're basically done.
That is true.
You know, which favors a lot of Protoss, it favors a lot of Terran. The Zerg has to really work to deny Protoss that 3rd base or just kind of go all out and take as many as he can.
It's true, the game will be decided on who can get that economic advantage and hold on to it.
Absolutely, and like the problem with that is like a lot of Zergs, you know, you want Nexuses, you want Larvae, you want all sorts of things, you want gas. And you want the same thing with Protoss, but like the Protoss doesn't need as much. Like it needs as much, but the units are just so much better, so much more cost efficient in a lot of circumstances that they can get away with not having, you know, 5 bases.
True, true. The Zerg are famous for their just throwing cheap unit strategy.
I mean, it's absolutely, you know.
And we saw MrNobody down here grab that Nexus first, then go up into the Forge. And
it's like you were saying, you know.
He wants to grab that economic lead.
Yeah, and he can, you know, the Zerg, he knows that nothing much can come in before like the 3-minute mark, except like a 6 pool, but like at this level, he would laugh and like thank his lucky stars that he was being 6 pooled. You know, and he knows that Keen wants to take the base as soon as possible to deny him that economic advantage.
But
so
look what we see at the natural expansion of Keen.
Yeah,
we have a cannon rush coming in.
That's the way to do it. I mean,
this will deny mining, but he can't really destroy the hatchery because the creep's already up.
Well, the creep is already up. I believe the cannons are on range of the hatchery, so it will start to work steadily on it. And MrNobody has positioned his cannons in really excellent formation. That lead cannon is protected on almost all sides by either minerals or cannons.
Sure, so, all 3 of them are in range. I thought only the bottom 2 were going to be. Okay.
No, he's in a very excellent position. He's also cannon rushing the 3rd because, you know.
Because why not?
First you don't succeed, try again.
Can he see that at all?
He's succeeding pretty well at the natural here.
Okay, Lings catch the one at the 3rd. The one at the natural will tear down that natural. He is going to have a pretty solid economic lead here.
Oh, absolutely. The other thing, too, is, you know, no damage will put on the cannon other than that superficial shield damage. Those are still going to be there. That's going to take a significant amount of Zerglings to deal with, and that's a lot of larvae that he'd much rather be spending on drones, especially since he's lost that natural now.
He's not even actually droning down into his 3rd yet. There we go. They're just starting back up again. He's down in the worker count quite a bit. He's actually losing to the Protoss player. It's 26 to 21.
You know, MrNobody has now 5 drones at his natural. He's got 6 drones working both gases in his main. The main's almost fully saturated. He's just crunching out the probes. I mean, he's got 1 gateway. He's got the cybernetics core is not even done yet. He threw a pretty significant amount of money into the cannon rush at the natural, but it is paying off in spades.
It is. Keen deciding to go for grabbing that top center base as his 3rd because he still cannot get his natural.
Yep.
He still will be on an early 3 bases.
He will. He has spent a lot of money on the base that was denied. He still, you know, he lost a lot of larvae. He lost a lot of time, and I think that's what's going to come in big, you know, in the upcoming future. MrNobody now has all 4 gases. He's starting to really ramp up that production. Warp Gate's on the way. He's in an excellent position. He's teching. He's got the gas he needs to tech. And he's, pushed the Zerg back onto just Zergling tech for a long time.
It's also really that creep spread that has been denied. It's going to take him a lot of tumors to get across that natural expansion area.
Yep, absolutely.
And
the Roach Warren is down for Keen. He's gonna try and put some pressure on the front. It might be successful. There's only one cannon, but Roaches are expensive, and Mr. Keen does not have a whole lot of money right now.
Well, he might just use those Roaches to try to clear out the cannons at his natural, go up to 4 bases, and then start really powering through that economy and getting a big lead.
Yeah.
But there are 3 Stargates on the way for MrNobody.
Yeah.
He's going to go into a heavy air play that there's no time to get Hydras up here. He's very far away from having the gas income to be able to do that. This is going to do a lot of damage to Keen's base.
There's just a couple queens, 3 queens in total for Keen. That is just not enough. It's just simple, it's simple math,
Keen, without scouting these Stargates, is actually tossing down Spore Crawlers in all of his mineral lines. He will be somewhat protected from this. Phoenixes won't be able to harass, but Void Rays will still do a lot of damage. Oracles are shut down.
That's true. Keen now clearing out the cannons from his natural. Actually getting a couple Roach kills. I believe MrNobody's actually microing the cannons. No.
No. The cannons are there was enough cannons to deal with that many Roaches.
Yeah, he's going to get them.
There are reinforcing Roaches coming down if he needs them. There we go. The cannons have fallen. The pylon will fall momentarily, and he can take that as a base.
That's 10 minutes in, though. A lot of Zergs, I think, would like to have a 4th kind of at least up, or.
Well, the more pressing matter is these Void Rays with the +1 air upgrade on the way, and no major form of anti-air out of Keen yet. MrNobody's going to hit him at a very hard timing here. Even now taking his own 3rd back on the bottom center position on the map.
Yep. A little bit of Lings coming through on the south side of the map here. They're going to encounter those rocks, and I think Keen will have an idea that MrNobody's taking this base. It's kind of expected at this point.
Seeing those rocks, you'll know exactly what that means.
And the Void Rays, I believe, have been spotted, absolutely.
They have been spotted. Those Zerglings have done their job.
He knows he's in for a little bit of pain. Retreating all of his Roaches.
It's not an unholdable position. Huge number of Roaches coming in. A lot of extra Spore Crawlers being tossed around. This is going to be rough for him here for a couple minutes. Also, no Hydra Den even in sight. Does he have a lair yet? Okay, the lair is done.
He has no gas.
The Hydra Den has just started. That's true. He actually just took the majority of his gas geysers. He can't get the anti-air
play. Queen almost dies. The Roach is just going to kind of sit there and get eaten by the Void Rays. They might take out... Most of the Stalkers are dead.
But one Queen does not even beat one Void Ray, let alone 5 Void Rays.
Keen tried to protect the Queen with the Spore Crawlers.
Even more
MrNobody having nothing of that. He's going to focus down the base. He's letting the Queen take a lot of free shots on some of the Void Rays.
But this is an excellent play. He can take down the base and recall out if things go south. And he'll have done the damage he needs to do. He could actually, at this point...
He's already done the damage he needs to do. The 3rd going down.
Yeah, he could even, at this point, just move up to the next base and take out that one, too. There's no anti-air here. Hydra Den is done. There are Lings back on MrNobody's side of the map with a couple Roaches, posturing for a counterattack. But huge number of Overlords are going to go down here. The first 3 Hydralisks are on the way. This is not the answer to Void Rays.
No, he's having a lot of trouble here. One of the Void Rays stays alive.
Excellent control there out of MrNobody.
Literally 1 health. Literally 1 health on the far left Void Ray. But he's still going to get the Nexus. There's the recall.
Saves himself with that recall, goes back to the most exposed Nexus, and will be able to prevent that that actually just Roach Ling push that is posturing itself. Queen's going to try to come across, but they're too slow to do anything here.
Keen is in a real rough spot here. He's had 2 bases of any significance the whole game. He still doesn't have... He just got his gas on the 4th, but he's just putting drones in it now. He's retaking the 4th and natural, and he can't continue to make these kind of trades. It's just
no, he cannot. And MrNobody just going heavily into that Void Ray, the composition that does not yet have an answer. But the longer this goes, the more likely an answer is to come out.
The Hydra Den is up. The Spire just went down. Keen getting the Muscular Augments upgrade for those Hydralisks. I mean, Keen needs to push out again soon. He's got 11 Void Rays in the Mothership Core. That's enough right now to take care of just about everything in that base. There's only 5 Queens.
Yes, it is.
You know, he needs to hit while the Hydra number is low. He can deal with if he can deal with the Queens, he can focus down the Spore Crawlers kind of one at a time and really just deny mining for as long as possible. I mean, the income is just ridiculous in terms of the discrepancy between the two players. Actually, not as much anymore.
Now they're sitting just about even.
Well, Keen has now successfully retaken the 2 bases that MrNobody destroyed. But MrNobody hasn't lost as much money. He's had more money to sit on. He's had more money to tech with. You know, he's had probes that he doesn't have to remake. You know,
That's
he's
true.
adding on a large number of gateways in the bottom of his main.
Well, the big question from this is, when you're Keen and you're going into the Spire, what do you get to deal with the Void Rays? Do you go with the Corruptors that will be shredded because of their armor, or do you go with the Mutalisks that will be shredded by the Stalkers?
Well, I think in this case, if I was Keen, I'd go for the Mutalisks. There's not a whole lot of Stalkers on the map right now, only 8. There's Roaches and Lings to help deal with them too. You know, microed properly, I think Mutalisks are the right answer, just because Corruptors, they deal the good damage, but they're not as much damage, and you have to deal with some of the other things. You have to make some sort of counter push. You can't just deny the Void Rays from killing you. That's not a long-term viable strategy.
And there are 13 Void Rays on the field, so whatever that answer is, it's going to have to be perfect and really get out in high numbers, and I think it might be the Hydralisks that he is actually going for, because he already has a lot on the field. He has 16 more on the way, and those behind a Spore Crawler will get this done, and there is the fight. They go to town on them. It looks like
oh my god,
the overcharge comes in. The Hydra's not quite getting it done.
Right time, if anything.
They burned the shields on most of the Void Rays, actually. The Void Rays are falling. We are down to 9 from 13, but most of the Hydralisks are down now. The Void Rays focus firing them down, trying to pull them back into those Spore Crawlers. There are no shields. If he can get them at the right angle, he can take them out, and MrNobody is pulling back from this fight with Keen. He cannot take this at this moment. I think one last Void Ray will fall before they get out. 3 out of 13 got out of that fight.
Those Hydralisks for Keen spawned at the incredibly precise moment he needed them to.
They most certainly did.
MrNobody came in with the Hydralisks, began engaging, committed himself to the fight, and half a second after that started, the large wave of, I think you said 17 extra Hydralisks swarmed in right above 3 Spore Crawlers right in front of the natural and the 4th. And that, I mean, Keen could not have asked or designed a better engagement position for him.
No, he could not have. But from this point, MrNobody is deciding that Colossi are the answer. You know what? You've dealt with that airplay, but you have a huge low health army in the Hydralisk and Roach. Those Colossi are going to just shred it if Extended Thermal Lance is done. And we are
not giving him the
seconds away from that. This fight will engage. No damage on that Colossi yet. The Void Ray is trying to get it done, trying to micro that Colossi back. The Zealot's going to town on that front row, and he's actually going to push that back. That Extended Thermal Lance still not done, but that does not matter yet. He's going to try to focus down that first Colossi.
Doesn't quite get the Colossus.
It holds on with 6 health.
That's impressive. A lot of Roaches now being made for Keen. He has taken his 5th. He has it beginning to take it up in the bottom left side of the map here. It's going to be interesting. His creep spread is excellent. He has very excellent map vision. He knows when it's coming. He knows what MrNobody has, is that his Colossus, some Stalkers, and the remaining Void Rays. And he can, I mean, he's already got, oh my god, 2 pages, almost probably 30, 35 Roaches ready to go. and there's still only 2 Colossi with no thermal lance, or extended lance.
The extended lance is done, actually. It finished seconds after that first fight.
Ooh.
And the Corruptors on the field will take care of those Colossi. We're even seeing Vipers being added in, as well as that +3 armor and +2 range attack. This army will actually become a little terrifying from Keen here.
I think Vipers are a good choice because of the high roach percentage of this army.
Especially if he can focus down that one weakened Colossi that is so cost efficient right now because it has no health but is still doing massive damage. He's not getting those Colossi focused down at all. Instead going on those Void Rays with the Corruptors. The Corruptors fall and the Colossi are just melting this army.
Colossi coming through, that's just it.
That was just not the fight that Keen needed, and behind it, MrNobody has expanded to his 4th base, and a 4-base Protoss will just be able to produce like there is no tomorrow.
Absolutely. I think that was the right engagement for Keen. That was a good choice, but he needed to focus on the Colossi instead of the Void Rays with his Corruptors, and I think that's what lost him that, because the Colossi were just able to deal an enormous amount of damage to the Roaches, who just, like, couldn't even get to the Colossus.
He also needed to wait for those Vipers. He needed to get those Colossi out of the army. And let's see how well he can control it here as these 2 armies both vie for position in the middle of the map.
Keen might in fact be a deviant, brilliant genius in that he was trying to get rid of the Void Rays so that his Vipers would have a better chance of landing on the Colossi and pulling them into his Roaches. I don't know if that's the right choice, but it might be the saving grace where there's not as much debris almost in the way of the Vipers to get good pulls on the Colossi.
But we have to credit MrNobody for this, that he knows that those Corruptors are back out onto the map and wants to protect his Colossi, so start up Void Ray production again.
Absolutely.
To make sure that he could kill those Corruptors in time.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
or even to make sure that the Vipers grab Void Rays instead of Colossi, because
I would believe that Keen's clicking skill is a little higher than that he could actually click the Colossi.
Fair enough.
The Greater Spire's coming in, so we might actually either see the +3 upgrades, but that fight! The Corruptors are starting to fall, the Colossi...
That was
hitting the whole army, forcing that back, but there we go. The Colossi getting pulled out, but not focused down fast enough. It does fall, but most of this Roach Hydra is dead. Those Corruptors take out all of the Void Rays?
Some of them.
That is hard to call. Who came out in front there?
Honestly, at this point, I think Keen. He's taken a 6th base on the far top side of the map. MrNobody has taken his 4th, but you know, with just the sheer amount of larva Keen can pump out now, he's got a good position.
Both players are pretty close in resources lost, and we're holding steady in income. So we'll see how this goes here. And MrNobody's now expanding to the top right, those 2 bases so close to each other. It's going to become impressive how quickly they can sack those bases.
Keen now probably aware that something funky is happening on the top side, and there's the Roaches to come by and deny the Nexus, or at least...
Be interesting to see if he tries to hold on to this, or if he just cancels it and does go somewhere else.
Well, there's not many else places he can go at this point.
He's going to go up to defend it, but does he get the cancel on it? It's going to fall. That was not a cancel.
Oh, is there no observers? There's no observers on the map.
On the map, or just there are none on the map? Oh, man.
That's
going to become costly here.
You can almost call that an oversight, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, in revenge, MrNobody goes and sacks the base of Keen in the upper right-hand position.
And Keen's actually in a big problem now, because that's a lot of Stalkers, that's a lot of Colossi.
And that's all Hydralists. Hydras do not have the health to deal with the Colossi. But these are pretty low-health Colossi. And the Void Rays are falling to the Corruptors, trying to burn through those Corruptors.
Oh, God.
They actually get pushed back, even footing on supply, but 13 Corruptors on the way, and that Greater Spire is done. Should he decide that he wants to do something like Brood Lords?
I think Keen will have the time to at least push this back to get another chance at it, you know? MrNobody's taking his time, killing the Spine Crawlers, working his way methodically through the base.
Well, he has to. Those Spine Crawlers are a threat to both his Void Rays and his Colossi, but again, this low-health army of Keen is hitting MrNobody's army.
Oh!
And these Colossi are just going to shred everything.
Some Corruptors coming in from behind. He's going to try and get a surround on the Colossi?
That is a hallucinated Colossi that they're focusing down.
That's unfortunate.
And the Overlords,
Almost trying to soak up some of the damage.
There was not a whole lot of air. The last Colossi is going to fall here. That thing is dead. It went the wrong way to survive. But the Corruptors are dead as well.
It's going to make it. That's a lot of Stalkers.
That Colossi will live through this encounter. And he's going to sack the Natural again here. But there's enough other bases in production.
Oh,
Got trapped by the roaches.
Down. There's someone surrounding the drones, pulling the drones down to help deal with the Stalkers.
You know what? The Hatcher's actually going to survive here, I think.
There are enough roaches, you know?
A lot of drones will be lost, but the roach count has climbed high enough again here. Void Rays are coming in as a reinforcement. We see 2 on the way over. More red streaming across the map in the form of Stalkers and additional Void Rays.
And Keen manages to hold.
Keen still has a lot of roaches burrowed in that position that MrNobody wants to be taking as his 5th base, so he cannot do that yet. They actually unburrow and attack that pylon. Gonna bring Stalkers over to try to clean that up. But this is gonna get intense. This is getting to a pretty low econ game as both players have to vie for those outer position
almost
bases.
A lot of drone death there for MrNobody. Luckily, able to push Keen off of that before they got massacred.
We do have Psystorm done, so these High Templar are going to be able to deal massive splash damage.
There were some in the last fight, but MrNobody, a little bit of miscontrol, sent them out first, and they just kind of got murdered by the roaches.
Well, remember also that with that feedback ability, you can kill the Viper in one hit. So we may have been trying to position for that.
Yeah.
And that's a little more of a forward position you need to hold with your High Templar.
Absolutely. Speaking of Vipers, one attempting to consume the refinery up here on the 3rd base. We got 1 Viper now. Not sure if the Vipers are going to be so much useful anymore. Another one. He's got a low number of Colossi. He's only got 1.
Well, even for that Blinding Storm, I think they're still going to be very helpful.
Yeah, Blinding Storm, I think, is the other thing that he used very effectively in the assault on the 3rd base from MrNobody earlier in the game. He was able to force almost what should have been a pretty serious engage to at least an even trade.
That is true. A couple of Lings harassing this 5th base of MrNobody. He's having a really hard time getting that up, and he's actually mined out in his Natural and his main, and will be mining low in his 3rd and 4th soon. So these armies are going to get close to being the last that these 2 players will be able to mass produce here.
I think MrNobody is just going to try and go for it. I mean,
huge storms are landing. A couple Stalkers got pulled, but that's not what he needed. Those Void Rays charge up now. They will tear through this Roach Hydra force. This might be it for from Keen. MrNobody might have pulled this off.
Those storms were incredible.
They hit all of that very low health army and just decimated it. And Keen has 100 minerals. He spent 13 Hydralisks worth of income and cannot produce much else at this point. And his 3rd got sacked. He's gonna have a hard time finding money here.
I think this might be it. Vipers attempting to consume to get like one last desperation pull on the Colossi.
Or even 1 Blinding Cloud here could be life-changing for Keen. That choke point of Storm would be a priceless there. Does he have High Templar left? Okay, he does not, so we can't pray for Storm. He turned those into an Archon. Trapped the army outside. Got 1 of the Void Rays, but the Void Rays are just going to come over and engage.
If that would have been a Colossus, that would have been game-changing.
It would have. And his army is going to have to walk all the way around to try to become effective again. In fact, MrNobody is on Keen's side of the production. He can just go up there and start sniping tech structures, which would just be decimated because he doesn't have the income to reproduce those.
There goes the Hive.
There goes all Viper production from here on in. And the army of Keen is just kind of chilling in the middle of the map, not doing anything. As the Hydralisk Den falls, the Infestation Pit is not long for this world. The spawning pool is going to go down. The Roach Warren is going to go down. He won't have any tech left. So this is it. This is his army.
This Viper pull is all he's got left. He's got 1 Viper and 1 pull. And he gets it! Oh my god!
The Colossus will fall, but that won't change enough. Overcharge is available again. He tosses that down. He can burn... Okay, maybe not.
Oh my god.
He could get...
He got it.
Oh.
But Colossus changed it. He had 1 pull. He had 1 pull and 1 chance, and he nailed it.
but there is a large army remassing on the bottom right for MrNobody, who also still has income and production structures.
He's about 25 supply ahead of mostly Stalkers and Void Rays. A couple Zealots coming in now, a couple High Templar, and he's going to take that 4th base on the top right and just defend it.
But what
White Raw style. Make base, then defend it, and he's going to force Keen to come get him, and Keen has to.
Well, what would be interesting is the fact that actually Keen is going to be heavy Zergling for a while here. High in the mineral count, only having that spawning pool. Stalker Void Ray is not the greatest anti-Zergling army comp. He didn't adjust to the reality that he forced Keen into very well. Be interesting to see if Keen does floodlings. And he does.
Viper, the hero Viper, consuming a refinery again. He's going to try and get some more miracle pulls. The Void Rays, maybe. I mean, there's not as many great targets anymore now that all Colossi are dead.
The High Templar, I would say, is what he has to pull there.
I mean, you have to. I mean, another couple of those storms, and it's not looking good for Keen.
Especially the storms are all he has really to deal with those lings at this point.
Yeah.
And okay, that was just like a sacrificial storm on some of those roaches.
He knows he's going for him.
Takes up all the high temp. That was game changing at this point. Keen just getting those perfect snipes.
He sees it too. MrNobody knows it. He sees it.
He can't take this fight. He should not go in there. He needs to sit, remax that army. But Keen is just going to tax his multitasking ability by once again trying to snipe off this 5th base on the right-hand side. He's just not giving him the time he needs to establish that base, get that economy going again. And at this point, Keen has the production facilities again. Gonna go for the fight. Gonna shred through those Zealots. The Zealots are actually, at this point, all that can deal with those Zerglings once they get in.
Here come the High Templar, and Keen's gonna back off. He knows it. He's got a decent army. He's just gonna try and pick away units.
But this is MrNobody's only mining base. And he got the flank around it. Keen can sack that base and prevent all mining. Just out-positioning the army from MrNobody. The base will fall.
He's gonna force the engage on the ramp.
And that will be the fight. There are 300. He does not have the income to rebuild that Nexus. He will have to long-distance mine, or he will pull his probes and go for the final engagement. And that looks like what he is doing. All of his probes are with this army at this point. Well, except for this clump right here.
It's going to come down to the storms. He's got 4 High Templar.
A storm apiece?
Maybe.
Yeah, 75 storm apiece.
He's got 3 shots. He might actually severely hinder himself. The probes are really fast. They're going to get out there, and if he storms his own probes, he's almost negating their effect.
Well, he needs to get the surround with the probes, and he cannot... Okay, good. I was worried he might lose that Void Ray there. That would have been too soon. He needs that Void Ray.
Keen's going to let him take it. He's going to let him...
All these facilities are useless to Keen at this point. He needs to defend his base in the middle left. That is where his Roach Warren is. Where's his spawning pool?
Got some... No.
The Roach Warren is what he needs to hold on to at this point.
Yep, spawning pools in the natural.
Yeah. Oh, one of the High Templar falls!
Those
all of the High Templar
specifically
fell.
For that point.
Force the Archon out of the other two.
Down, it's now an Archon. Keen's deciding.
Keen's just gonna take this here because he knows it's possible. Blinding Cloud hitting the heart of the army.
Drones.
This is just
God.
MrNobody's supply is plummeting. He is just dropping, and Keen is holding steady, and there is the Keen Imba in lieu of the GG, and MrNobody is out of the game.
That was a blinding cloud to end all blinding clouds. The engage on the ramp gave Keen the chance. He pulled the drones from his 4th base to help soak up some of the damage that Archon couldn't get the range to do the splash damage it needed, and the army just kind of died.
It certainly did. That blinding cloud coming down center on all of those stalkers, just nullifying them, also losing the High Templar moments before.
Those roaches were buried right there, and Keen was waiting for it. He could smell it. He was waiting. This green didn't move the whole time they were there. He was waiting for that precise moment to jump up and murder a couple of the High Templars before they heat off the storms.
But in all, that was a long, intense, exciting game. Congratulations to both players, especially Keen for winning. That wraps it up. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you will all join us for more games of StarCraft in the future.
Always.